Hey guys, it's DTakes23, and today I'm joined by Ash from Odyssey Gaming and voice actress Rhianna DeVries, aka Chloe, from Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Hi, my name is Rhianna DeVries. I play Chloe Price in Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Thank you so much for submitting your questions. Let's get to it. So one of the questions that pretty much everyone asked was, were you familiar with Life is Strange before taking on the role?
I had heard about it, but it wasn't until recently that I really started playing video games, so I'd never played it. And then when I finally signed the NDA during the audition process and they were like, oh, so this is for Life is Strange, I was like, wait, huh? Because I'd heard such good things about it, but like that was the extent to which I was familiar.
So that actually kind of mirrors me in a way, because I've only played both of the games recently. So I bought the first one ages ago and I never got around to playing it, and I played it, and then episode 1 of Before the Storm came out. I just played that in the last couple of weeks, and I think the second episode's out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So a well-timed interview, I think. But in terms of like the role itself, you said there that you auditioned for the role, but how was that process, and did you know it was Life is Strange before you went into it?
No, actually, the original audition was simply for the motion capture, and the way that I got that was a little odd, like it just like, I guess, unorthodox, because it was just like this little blurb on Facebook. Someone had posted like, if you sound and have the body type of like a teenage girl, send your headshot and resume here, which it sounds really creepy. Yeah. I thought, okay, like there's no harm done in like sending, like my headshot and resume are publicly available, so it's like I'm not hurting myself or incriminating anything by sending like my reel and stuff over. Then they came back with like sides where the names were all changed and everything, so like they really covered their tracks up until they really wanted to narrow it down for the motion capture artists. After that, then like months after, they started casting for the voiceover thing, and that was a whole other thing.
Oh wow.
Oh, so did you know you were specifically auditioning for Chloe or no?
I was given sides and chose to pick a person to audition for, and Chloe wasn't like, no, I had no idea that it was Chloe, but her lines were definitely the ones that I was most attracted to. So she's just who I ended up submitting for naturally.
So in terms of, and you said like about the motion capture and everything like that, that must have been weird going in for motion capture, because was it 2 separate processes? You went in for the motion capture first, then did you have to come back separately to do again the auditions? I'm just thinking, because I remember when interviewing Frida Wolf, and that was a long time ago, and she was saying about how weird it was, and it was very same process, like, you know, going in for the audition, really not knowing what you're going for until you get to the later stages kind of thing. But moving on to the next question here, it says about Ashley Birch being the previous voice for Chloe, and about the fact you were taken over because there was a mixed response to that. Did you get any kind of response? What kind of response did you get knowing when you knew about being Chloe? Was it negative? Was it positive? Was it kind of a mix of both? Or?
I'd like to say that I have no idea. Just because I did not really seek to find out. Because I had an idea in my head of like of how people would react, and you know, I just kind of went, maybe it's best that I just not delve into it, you know, because no matter what, it's like, either way, either response is going to come up with like things that I don't really need in my head.
Yeah, it's really good because the gaming community can be really brutal sometimes. So they're very vocal.
That's true. I must admit though, when I played, because I played them so close together, the first thing I did think about was, okay, they're 2 different voice actors. How are they going to sound? They sounded so similar, like to the point where I didn't even really notice. So I think that's kind of testament to you and how good you did in the game, because I absolutely loved it. I wasn't quite so attracted to the first one, I think because maybe I waited so long to play it, but the second one, and especially the scene where like you're playing Dungeons and Dragons with the 2 other people, I just enjoyed that one. I just sat back, I was like, I'm going to do this, I don't care how long it takes, and I just really enjoyed the interaction, and Chloe was properly getting into it, and I was just like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
I feel like overall the writing in Before the Storm is much stronger than the first game, so I think that has a lot to do with it as well. And Chloe At least for me, I preferred Chloe to Max. Always. So, so sorry, Max fans, but yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed episode 1. The Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop game, excuse me. The tabletop game was definitely like one of my favorite things to do in the booth. It just was. It was one of those times where they just went, okay, go, and it's like, yeah.
Just go nuts. So yeah, no, you could definitely tell that came through because I think it's just like the mannerism she had. She kind of sat on the table and she was like, I'm properly into this. And I think, I don't know how long that scene kind of played out playing the game. I think it might have been about 20 minutes or so. It didn't feel like it because she said like, okay, what do I do now? And then I ended up like picking the wrong decision. Chloe's character died and or something like that. And I was just like, so, but I actually really enjoyed that because there wasn't really anything like that too much in the first one. So
in the first episode?
I know, in the first Life is Strange. But that's actually one of the most questions actually, which is what was your experience working with Deck Nine?
Oh, stellar! Oh my goodness. Do you have an hour? Like I love all the people at Deck Nine. They are so passionate and like wicked smart and thoughtful and just like such great people and great artists. They're so devoted to and grounded in their work. I have so much respect for everybody there. Like I love them all so much. So much. I love working there. I love having a job that I love working at, and like that just makes it so much better, you know, because it's like, okay, so any set can be a film set and you can be doing what you love to do, but when you're surrounded by people that you love, crap, man. I'm on cloud 9 at Deck 9. Gross. I love them.
So now that is this your first voiceover?
It is.
Yeah.
I hope you can't tell. But like, yeah, but it's not my first acting job, so yes.
Well, Reddit user It Matters Boo Boo Sousa asks,
Nice.
Is it difficult conveying emotions through voice acting and motion capture compared to live action, and which do you prefer more?
Ah, man. I wouldn't say that it's difficult per se, because like I would argue that acting is acting, and the difference between the mediums is just technical. Like in theater, you're focusing on cheating out and projecting and not hurting your voice, and conveying emotions largely through your motion and through like grand gestures in your face and beats. In film acting, it's a lot smaller, and in voice and motion capture acting, it's so much more focused. Like in voice acting, the only thing that's going to come through is your voice. So I don't want to say you. I keep saying you, but like at least I become hyper aware of like every time my voice catches, yeah, and every way that it moves when it does move. Whereas in like motion capture, there have been several times like during scenes where Web Pickers Gill does the motion capture directing. He will let us do improvised scenes that are like parallel to the scene that we're actually working on, so that if the animations need to be a little more, if they need to be able to be applied to multiple scenarios, like multiple dialogue trees, then they're not so specific. And because of that, in motion capture, you're focusing on not like putting your hand through a door or like losing any markers and things like that. You're focusing a lot on your body, and since we do facial reference after the fact, even your face, usually like everybody in the room uses their face. But like you wouldn't have to, I guess, if you wanted to pose that hypothetically. Those are the biggest differences between them. They asked which one I prefer.
Yeah, which one do you prefer, voice acting or just acting in general, like on screen or theater?
Oh, that's not fair. Can I plead the fifth on this one? Because like technically each of them have their pros and cons. They're all so good. I'm pleading the fifth. I'm clocking out. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to your incredible username. You deserve better. Yeah. My bad. I'm sorry.
No, I think that's kind of the thing. Is like, which one of your children do you love more? You can't answer that question. You just can't.
Yeah.
It's not fair. It's not possible. So, oh dear. But just a question from one that Rhianna and I kind of came up with was, and it's kind of touched on with a couple of the other questions that came from people online as well, was do you have any kind of particular techniques as a voice actor that you do to prepare for a particular scene or scenario? For example, there is one specific scene in the first episode of Before the Storm where it's a properly emotional moment where like it's crying, it's smashing things, and is that something that you have to go really deep to get the reaction from, or is that just something that you just have to kind of just play it as it goes kind of thing?
Do I have a technique for getting there? If I do, then I'm not aware of it. It's a lot of trust between myself and the directors on the other side of the glass, yes. Phil Bach and Webb Pickersgill, establish a lot of trust and respect between us before going into anything, which is really beneficial. And because of that, I think the technique would just be trusting the director and wherever he points you to go. Phil Bach is insanely good at getting you where you need to be. He makes it very personal, which it has to be, especially if you're going to be crying. But I guess the technique is in, like, trust falling into whatever direction Phil Bach gives me and like hoping it works. Yeah. No, I think I remember as well. This came up a while ago, and I don't know if you've heard of it or heard about it. It's the voice actor for Elizabeth in Bioshock Infinite, and I can't remember her name now. I feel really bad. But there's a video online where she gets the director and Troy Baker to just push her emotionally to the point of like cracking, just so she can get a line where she's crying and upset, just to kind of convey that across in the game. And for me, that was like super intense, because I love the Bioshock games, I'm a huge fan of them. But to see that, I was just like, is this what voice actors are putting themselves through to get a voice in the game? I was like, wow. So, and then I saw that scene that kind of made me feel kind of similar. I was like, did you have to go somewhere kind of personal to kind of dig that out? Or just like, I mean, fair play to you, because I don't think I could ever do that, to be honest. So. Too tough for me. Thank you. It's really personal. And I actually think that's in part why I haven't played episode 1 yet. Because I'm not ready to because I remember what I was thinking when I delivered those lines, and it wasn't fun stuff. So,
yeah.
It just, I guess it's just like trusting your director and trusting yourself to go to that dark place and let it be what it is.
So what kind of preparation did you have to do for the motion capture? Was there a specific direction on how Chloe should walk and move, or did you kind of play around with it?
To start off with, I watched playthroughs and then I played the first game before. I watched playthroughs before we started doing it, so that it was at least approximate, because she is 16, so we knew she would be a little more awkward. And then Webb and I went in for a full day and just curated what we thought Chloe would look like at 16 as she's moving about the space. I guess the prep was just in analyzing the way that the original motion capture actress walked, and then adding a new layer to that of youth, and that's what you get. But yeah, that was the majority of what the preparation entailed.
Just another one of the questions from people online here. From Gabby, I'm going to horribly mispronounce this.
Novo.
Thank you. My stifling English accent does not do well for these things. How do you hope that Chloe's story will relate and possibly help younger people playing the game who are dealing with similar issues?
Can you repeat that in your British accent? I'm so sorry.
I'll certainly try. So, how do you hope that Chloe's story will relate and possibly help the younger people who will be playing the game, who are maybe dealing with the similar issues that are in their loss of family, or are struggling through kind of teen years and that kind of thing?
How do I hope that she'll help?
Yeah, possibly to kind of people in real life.
Just by not feeling alone. When you see the way that you feel reflected in art that you care about around you, that changes everything. I hope that anyone playing the game and going through this right now, 1, I'm so sorry. 2, your feelings are valid, and I hope that you seek kindness and comfort wherever you need it, whenever you need it, and I hope you find it. And 3, you are not alone. I hope that Chloe can provide some sort of comfort and solace to people that otherwise wouldn't know how to get it. Yeah. If you're going through that, I'm so sorry.
So in the Reddit AMA, you mentioned that you found yourself talking to someone that you really loved in the junkyard scene, and that you left the booth feeling really impressed by Chloe. Who were you thinking about when you were voicing that scene? Is that too intrusive?
Oh man, Denise! Wow, I was not ready ready for this. I came out here to have a good time.
Put you on the spot.
I had to hit you with some kind of... I had to hit you with a Barbara Walters question.
I feel personally attacked. I probably shouldn't use their name, but they're someone that I at one point was very, very, very deeply in love with. And at that time I was still in love with them. Oh gross, we're getting personal. But like there's someone that I was like so enamored with, and at the time I was still recovering from being in love with them. And then Phil comes up with like, hey, you can't be with someone you love anymore, and it was them, and I just start blubbering like a little baby. I did not mean to mock you just then. I'm so sorry. I hope you didn't take it like I was mocking you. It just came out. I came away feeling really impressed with Chloe because, like, I didn't experience that kind of heartbreak until I was, like, 19. And up until that point, I thought I was this, like, invulnerable mass of a human being that was like, what do you mean, heartbreak? Like, get over it, bub. And then I experienced it, and I was like, I'm here for all of you. I'm sorry I'm an ass. At 16, being queer was something that I hadn't even, like, wrapped my head around yet. I was still going like, nah, I just think girls are pretty. Like, that's it. Like, it's fine. I was still in denial about being queer at 16. So the fact that Chloe has all these trust issues on top of, like, feeling horribly insecure, still finds it in herself to be able to say, like, look, I want to be with you. It broke me up. Like, it was a newfound respect for her, where it was like, regardless of her insecurity and her pain and her hurt and her knowing that, like, doing this would open her up to more hurt, she says it anyway. Yeah. And I'm like, do it, yeah. Like, because I absolutely don't have those kinds of nards. At least at 16 I didn't. I love her. I love Chloe.
I mean, I just listened to that. I was just there. I'm kind of in awe, if I'm honest, because I don't realize how much of a person, like the voice actor, goes into the character. And just from this, and like speaking to Frida Wolf last year, a lot of yourself seems to go into the character, and it's massively impressive to me. Because again, I'm nowhere near strong enough to do that kind of thing. I don't think I could do that without just like asking for, like, okay, I need the rest of the day, please just leave me alone. Because as a lot of people in the world, I've been through a lot of stuff in the last kind of few years or so, and I think trying to pull on something like that to try and say put it into some sort of art form, whether it be music, video games, movies, TV, anything like that, I don't think I could do it. So I think just in that moment, I've just got a newfound respect for voice actors, like completely and utterly. So yes, yeah, kudos to you. But another question that came up, and this kind of touched on one that I had before there, which was, did you find it difficult to voice an already established character that was previously voiced by somebody else?
I mean, have you ever followed Ashley Birch? Holy shit! Like, it was terrifying. It was so scary. It was really scary. I remember, even like in the motion capture room, feeling jealous of the girl that does the motion capture acting for Rachel, because they were like, you can make this whole new thing, like she doesn't exist prior, like she does exist. The audience hasn't had an interaction with her where they have a basis by which to criticize her, so like you can make a whole new character. And then they turn to me and they're like, did you do your homework? Are you like, I remember feeling just like jealous of it. But then again, like, how angry can you be when you're playing Chloe Price? Aside from, like, really, really angry. Like, how angry can you be at playing Chloe Price? So it was, like, it was really bittersweet, I guess is the word I'll go for. Because it also allows for this odd privilege to decide what is inherent to a character and what isn't. Chloe in season 1 is this, like, hardened, embittered person. And that isn't necessarily different when she's 16, but I do think that she's much more of a dork. I think that, like, that pain and everything hasn't had time to, it's like Jello when she's 16, and it's like a rock when she's 19. And, like, that was also reflected in Philip Bach's direction in making sure that the character arc wasn't like, because I hope you're not the same person at 16 that you are at 19. Following that arc, Phil Bach was real conscientious of. Like, there would be times where I would deliver a line and he'd go, whoa, 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 she's not that cool yet. It's not that cool. So it was bittersweet. I'm gonna land on that word. That's the word that I will hug and hold and give to you.
I think that's fair enough. I think that's fair.
How much interaction did you have with Ashley?
Well, since she was the writer, she did focus on the writing while I focused on the VO and motion acting. So like I've met her and like we've interacted, but a lot of what you see in Chloe is from Phil Bach, who directed on the first game. I'm just really lucky to be able to work with so many talented people, if I'm gonna be real.
Another one from Reddit. This comes from, I'm going to butcher this one, but I'm going to say John Tyro.
Nice.
Hopefully this is the right one. If you could give one piece of advice to Chloe, what would that be?
Let yourself be loved. Trust that you are worth being loved, and don't distrust anybody that shows you that. Yeah, because I think that a lot of her pain and self-destructive behavior comes from like her thinking that she's unworthy of much better. Yeah. And then I'd hug her.
Yeah.
And we'd eat comfort food.
Ice cream for everyone.
Yeah. Pineapple pizza. Looking at you, Reddit.
So Rachel Marina 0 asks, did you record with anyone else other than Kylie?
Yes. I recorded with the voice actress that played Taylor. And with Trey Hutch, who played Drew. Those are the first ones that come to mind. But Kylie was absolutely like a full day of us like in the booth together. So yeah, I cannot complain.
That's awesome. So far, everyone that I've interviewed, like at least for Mass Effect Andromeda, they all had to record on their own. So it's pretty cool that you got to play off someone else while doing that.
Yeah, it's neat. We only did that for episode 1. It just being able to have another person in the booth changes everything, because like you hear more things than like your own thoughts and breathing and like when you shift your feet when you're in the booth with another person. And it adds this sense of like togetherness because you're both in this void alone together.
So one question that I know Rima wanted to ask. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to answer this, but I'll give it a go.
Not well at all.
On Rima's behalf, I asked this one. But it's basically, she asked, it'll definitely be interesting to see how certain characters develop from Before the Storm to the original Life is Strange. Can you give us any insight on how Chloe's development will take shape in this stage of her life?
Yeah, I cannot tell you that without spoilers.
Damn it, Rima, I knew it.
Because like any character, Chloe is unperturbed until acted upon by an outside force, and like those forces are circumstances that I can't share with you. No. So, but they're like, yeah.
Well, I think in a way, I think in a way we kind of already seen it from the original story, so it may not be as good. But I think it's just mainly the developing relationship between Rachel and Chloe, because that was such a big part of the original story that was kind of never seen, if that makes sense.
But you can kind of see, like, just by playing the 2 games, that the way Rachel is with her, like some of the things that Rachel says, I feel like it rubbed off a lot on Chloe.
Get it, Denise?
Oh, yeah.
Get it? Oh my gosh, the writing team, Zack, Garrett, and the writing team, like they just, it's like they're just so good at what they do. There was one time, and I don't think that this line ever made it into the game. I don't think it did. But there was one time, it was one of my first impressions of Zack Garrett, who's the lead writer. Oh, hi, dog.
Sorry.
Is that your dog, Denise?
Yeah.
Say hi.
He's kind of a spaz.
Awesome. Good, then he's living his best life. But like one of my first impressions of Zack Garrett was like we were in the middle of motion capturing. It was like the biker back talk, and it went through so many different stages of development where it's like, oh, you know, he needs to be able to laugh at her, so we need a line that is ridiculous but also badass that she can call him for one of the dialogue trees. And Webb is trying to figure this out. He asks Zack about it. Zack goes, all right, give me 5 minutes. And he leaves the room, and he comes back, and he goes, what if she called him a meth pinata. And I'm like, what is your beautiful brain? They're so good. They're so good and so subtle. And it's like, what a privilege. What a privilege, yo. To be working with these people. With these lines. That was an anecdote you didn't ask for, but I gave to you anyway.
Another question from ZeldaFan1002 asks, what is or was your favourite aspect of Chloe in the first game, and do you hope to achieve that aspect in Before the Storm? These questions are getting deep from the public, people.
Wow. Tear her apart! Alright, so my favorite part about Chloe in the first game, and did I try to put that in Before the Storm?
I think that was the gist of it, yeah.
You can tell that Chloe is a dork. Just a total dork. And granted, you have to hunt for it just a little bit. In the first game, I think, like, you have to be able to, like, read through what because a lot of it is just, she's so hard. Like, she's like a jelly bean. You know, I know that a lot of people call her a jelly bean, but, like she's hard on the outside, and then you squish her, and it's like, oh, what a sweet, chewy thing, you know? But, she'll say, like, dorky shit. And, I think that shows up even more in Before the Storm. She's desperately trying to be this, like, stone-faced badass in Before the Storm, and she, like, attains more of that in Season 1, but, like, I guess preserving that progression collaboratively with Phil Bach and Web Pickers Guild has been, like, that's one of my favorite parts about this. It's like, she was a dork, she will always be a dork, and there's a little bit of a sweetness to the fact that, like, no matter how much pain and hurt you go through, the way that you deal with things is pretty inherent to you. And one of the ways she deals with it is by being this stone-hard dork.
So, Chloe and Rachel or Chloe and Max? Do you have a preference for a character dynamic based on friendship or romance?
They're coming for blood! I'm not gonna choose between Max and Rachel. I refuse. You can come after me. I refuse to do that. The way that I see it when it comes to, like, choosing between romance and friendship, I think that's already, like, a difficult decision, because it's like, who the hell chooses who they fall in love with? You know what I mean? I think, and this is just, like, the way that I've been playing it, but I think no matter what, Chloe harbors feelings for Rachel.
Yeah.
And the difference in, like, the decisions you make just decides whether or not Rachel feels open enough to reciprocate those feelings. My preference is that it's all romantic all the time. But, like, that's just me. Like, it's your game. The controller's in your hands.
But another question from @M_Esel? Sorry if I butchered that. Your favourite Amber/Price scene? So your favourite scene between Rachel Amber and Chloe Price?
In episode 1?
I'm going to say yes, because I don't think we want to spoil anything for any future episodes.
Yeah. We did the train scene in a dual mic session, and that was like the scene in the train car. I have so many fond memories surrounding that particular recording, just with Kylie, not even, like, between Chloe and Rachel. Like, that recording was a lot of fun. And so, like, I'm gonna be biased, but it's gonna be that one. It's such a smart way for them to get to know each other. It's laced with so many undertones of, like, curiosity and awkwardness and sweetness. That scene is just it's beautiful. I really do think so.
The writing in the first episode of Before the Storm, like I said, I loved it. It was phenomenal. And in comparison to the first game released by Don't Nod, Before the Storm didn't waste any time with a lot of exposition, which I freaking loved. And is this something that we can expect for, like, we can expect in episode 2 as well? Like, we just get to the nitty-gritty of it.
Well, you only got 3 episodes. I felt that, like, there was plenty of exposition, actually, in episode 1. And I know that some people argue, like, hey, you know, you can't fall in love with a person in a day. But, like, I think you can. I think you totally can. With, like, what they went through in one day is, like, what it would take months for a typical relationship to go through. So I thought all the milestones were there. Episode 2, I don't even know how to compare them, because they I feel that they have different themes and different, like, there's new things being introduced in it, so I don't even, I guess you can expect the same, like, nose to the grindstone feeling of, like, we're going, let's hustle. That might be the only similarity, because new developments, they're just like the writing team does not pull punches.
I feel like I was really strong with character development in comparison to the first game. It allowed you to connect to the characters much more.
Sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze for a second there, but I'm not going to. Rachel is a very off the cuff and kind of wild, and so is Chloe to an extent. Do you think that Rachel is someone that Chloe should trust? Is she a bad influence?
I don't think anybody is a truly good influence.
That's probably true.
Should Chloe... I think for the sake of Chloe, yeah, Rachel is exactly what Chloe needs in that moment. And if trusting her is what it takes for Chloe to feel loved and to feel like she has somebody, then yeah, that's what I think.
So in the Reddit AMA, you mentioned that your favorite character other than Chloe is Mikey. What is it about Mikey that you identify with?
There's a specific scene with Mikey down the road that is what really, like, breaks me up about him. I just see, and my brother's gonna be so mad. I just see him, like, the second that I read his breakdown and everything, I went, like, I knew who I would be talking to whenever I spoke to Mikey, and I knew that that person would be Matthew, my brother. Mikey and my brother don't manifest characteristically the same way. Like, my brother isn't as sweet and, like, introverted, but I see Chloe's relationship to Mikey and my relationship to my brother to be pretty parallel, and because of that, like, I love him, so.
Oh, we can't wait then.
Are we talking episode 2? Or because episode 2 comes out tomorrow?
Yeah, it's episode 2.
Good, that's not too long then. You obviously mentioned earlier on you got to record with a couple of people from basically the whole voice cast. But did you know any of them beforehand, or was it just something that you kind of met them all through this kind of role in this job?
Oh, I met them all through that. Everybody, I think aside from Brian Landis-Folkens, who voices and does the motion capture for Skeevy Guy, everybody who voices on the game, from what I understand, is from California. I got flown in from Denver to voice Chloe. So, like, I hadn't met these people. These wonderful, wonderful people until the game came into my life.
So you said you didn't play episode 1 yet, but for the previous game at least, are there any decisions that you made through your playthrough that you regret?
I'm sure there was. None immediately come to mind.
I don't think anyone makes the perfect decisions in the story-based choice games.
It comes from this place of, like, and that happened. And, like, that was the decision I made, and I'm sticking by it. Like, it really just comes from that. I'm sure that some of the decisions I made were not the best.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I regret from the first playthrough. That
oh yeah, like what?
I'd have to play the whole game again to get it right, and yeah, what was the? There was the girl who was on the top of the roof.
Kate?
Yeah, and
did you kill Kate,
I
Ash?
didn't deliberately kill her. I just couldn't save her. I think that's two very different distinctions, I'd like to point out. But no. You said this was your first job, basically, in voice acting. But getting into voice acting and acting in general, is that something you kind of, just because Frida Wolf said that she just kind of decided one day to just do it and see what happened, and she's been doing it for about 5 years now. Is it something the same with you, where you just decided, I'm just going to give it a try and see what happens, or was it something you actively sought out to do?
I've always wanted to be an actor. And by always, I mean, like, it's always been a component in my life. I started acting when I was maybe, like, I want to say early teenage years. Maybe I was like 11 or 12. So it's been almost 10 years now, and I guess it's just something that I never put down. So I honestly can't tell you if one day, like, preteen me was like, I mean, I want to pretend. Like, I don't remember the day that I decided to start. The day that I decide to finish isn't coming anytime soon, so...
That's good.
Would you be interested in working in another video game?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Do you have a particular franchise in mind?
The first thing that comes to mind, and I haven't played it yet, but I hear so much good about it. If I had to like deviate from the Life is Strange franchise, The Last of Us.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful things about, and I want in on that. Really, like any narrative or non-narrative, just put me like all the games.
Put me in.
I want to try. Let me try. I'll take what's put in front of me. Let's see what'll happen.
Yeah, I think all the questions I had on my sheet kind of ran into a lot of the questions I asked on the other ones.
I have questions.
Hello, Denise.
Do you have any mentors or people that inspired you along the way?
All right, so this is gonna be like a artsy fartsy mumbo jumbo answer, but just the people in my life can be so, like any interaction you really have that strikes you in a way can be used in your acting. So I guess in a sense, like my friends, my family, the people that I love act as mentors when it comes to this. And it really doesn't hurt when I have like awesome directors that can find those things in me and like squish them into my face. So like they also act as mentors. There's I don't know how to put a button on that, but there you go.
That's awesome. It sounds like you have a really supportive. It's really weird with art because there's this notion that with any kind of artistic career, like that families don't support it or push back.
My family's not exactly for it, but like they're not against it either. It's like they support me as a person and not necessarily me as like whatever my occupation is, which I get a certain joy out of. I think they figured out pretty early on that like if you tell me not to do something, I'm probably gonna do it out of spite anyway. So you might as well just like be there to watch me step on myself. It's just better for everybody in the end that way. No, like they're supportive of me. I'm really thankful for that.
And I have a friend who wanted to know if your last name is, if you're Dutch, as your last name suggests. That's what he said.
Yeah, my dad is Dutch. So, I don't know why that's been such a, because you're not the first person to ask that. Yeah, I'm part Dutch, so. Ta-da!
Well, he's Dutch, so he's like really. Are you currently working on anything new, or is there anything that you have worked on that you want us to know about?
I just recently closed a show at Curious Theater Company here in Denver. A lot of what I'm working on right now is in theater. Currently, nothing's out that I can talk about right now that I can refer you to.
We'll keep an eye out. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day for this.
Thank you for having me.